Hey everybody, welcome back. So today is day 147 for me, and I know that because I'm using an app called Days. I think I may have mentioned it in a previous video. Free download. It's got some ads in it, but basically I put in my anniversary date of the date I started and how many days I'm in, how many days until my anniversary date comes back up. I click it once a day or once a week or whatever day I open it up. I look at it and go, okay, I'm at day 147, and I close the app. So the ads aren't a big deal. If you want to track your time doing the diet, look it up, see if it's available. I know it's available for iPhone. I'm not sure if it's available for Samsung devices or any other or Androids. So day 147, I played disc golf this weekend and I noticed something and trying to figure out if it's a direct correlation to the diet or if it's just that like my mechanics of playing the game are getting better. I haven't trained for the game. I've only played maybe 10 rounds of disc golf since maybe the early fall until this past weekend. So it's not because I'm out there playing every weekend. But a few of my drives and a few of my approach shots on longer holes, longer distances, I was throwing the disc longer distance than I have been in the past. So again, can I attribute it to maybe my mechanics are getting better, muscle memory is better, just being a better all student of the game and understanding? I don't know. I think I have to contribute it partly to the diet and the reduction of inflammation. And I'm saying that because when I got done, I got home, I did some things out in the garage. Excuse me. So I did some heavy lifting and some things and moving some furniture around. And the day prior, I had a cleanup crew coming to clean out my lean-to shed in the back, and I basically took, rather than have them go in and lug everything out, I moved everything from the lean-to probably about 35, 40 feet out into my driveway and just placed it there. And there were some heavy things going on. So I did a little heavy lifting the day before. I got done. I came home, did a little more heavy lifting. I was exhausted when I got done and finally called it quits for the day. I was a little sore. My quads were sore. My calves were sore. So I hydrated a little extra, put some more electrolytes in my system. When I went to sleep, I did not, usually, I would have taken Advil. If I was still standard American diet, I would have taken two Advil before I went to bed, made sure I hydrated, and I still would have had ill effects the next day. Well, when I woke up the next day, my calves were still a little sore. And I attribute that to just really being on my feet for a long time, a long period of time. But I didn't have those, those achy, like, oh my God, man, this is going to be a hell of a day. Just even like sitting down, you still feel those pressure points and those extreme kind of strains in your quads and your calves, and I was fine. So, continuing now again, 147 days in of total elimination, I have to put a little star next to this diet to say this diet helped me with my recovery. This diet helped me a little bit too, maybe with because I don't have the limitation maybe of being able to throw a disc, and it's adding some, it's not major amounts of distance, but it was enough for me to notice. And even some of the guys I play with are like, man, you're really cranking some of these out today. What's going on? I'm like, they're like, would you eat your Wheaties? I'm like, well, I don't eat that. So anyway, that's one thing that I felt need to be reported on, because I know some folks are having a lot of issues with inflammation, arthritis, joint pain, discomfort, muscle pain, general soreness. If you go full bore on eliminating everything, you gotta see it through, because I continue to see these little tiny things that most folks, and even me at some point in time, I may not have even noticed. But now I'm kind of like analyzing every little thing, like, gee, I've never thrown that far before, or it seems almost effortless now. So again, it could be mechanics are getting better, muscle memory is getting better. But I didn't have any ill effects of the shoulder the next day. I'm still moving around. I'm not, in pain. So that needs to be said. It needs to be something I talk about, especially for anybody who's watching me that has some of those general issues with inflammation and joints and muscles. Next, I follow a lot of channels, just as many of you I'm sure do. John from Big Man, Alaska, Steak and Butter Gal, all the doctors, Dr. Chafee, Dr. Berg, Stan Ekberg, Dr. Berry, to name a few. And I also look for new channels. I also look for folks that are just starting, just to see what kind of things they report on, as their journey is going. And I've also seen plenty over the year when I started investigating carnivore. A lot of channels where I did the carnivore diet for 30 days. Here's what happened, and then when you go back, and they just did that, and that was it. So, what were their intentions of starting carnivore in the first place? And now they don't make any more carnivore videos. It's been a year or months and months since they made another update. I stumbled on another channel, and I watched their most recent post, and then I went back to the channel to see, because they're probably now maybe 40 or 50 days in. So I went back to see where they started, why they started, the things that they reported on as they had gone, a weekly basis, whatever it was. I watched some in the middle. I watched the beginning of some of the journey, and then got myself back to like the last 2 or 3 videos that they've posted, the most recent ones. The last one that's in line that was just uploaded, for lack of a better terminology, basically kind of shitting on the diet. This is a rich man's diet. People only report on the positive. Well, that's bullshit, because I've personally reported on the negative things that happened with my first 30 days. And I had some really tough days getting over, there was diarrhea. There was days when I just felt sickly. There were days, and then I knew that this was because of the elimination, and now you're trying to reverse years and years and years and years and decades maybe of eating a standard American diet, and then just, not caring. I'm going to eat what I want to eat, and I really don't give a crap until you get a bad report from a doctor or a warning. And then you realize, well, gee, I'm not 25 anymore. I'm also at my heaviest weight. And this thing does exist, in regards to the diet, and maybe I need to buckle up, for lack of better terminology there. You know, just sit myself down, look at myself in the mirror, and say, if this needs to be done, I've got all this information from just people. They've gone through this. You might have to walk through the fire a little bit. You're going to have to make some hard decisions. You're going to have maybe a hard road. And listen, some have had more than a 30-day period where they've had struggles. People have flourished for like 200 days and then fell off the wagon and started all over again, because there's an addiction involved, and that addiction comes from the processed food and the sugar. And to have somebody come out and say things like, this is a rich man's diet, these people that are out there reporting on this only report on the positives, that's bullshit. That's pure bullshit, because I've watched the folks and seen it with my own 2 eyes and heard it with my own 2 ears, how they've stumbled and fallen along the way, and how they've had a hard time, and they had to really push themselves to get through, to a point where they have experienced the positive things that a lot of folks report on. And that was no different for me. 30 days wasn't enough. I've even said it in some of my videos prior to this. I didn't think I was going to make 60 days. I didn't think I was going to make 90 days, because I'm trying to reverse years of abuse of myself. And to have people maybe just want to be different. Maybe they just want to cause a ruckus. Maybe they just want to get views. Maybe they just don't understand why a lot of folks start this diet. Maybe they're not being genuine. Maybe they're not being truthful with themselves. But to just come out and blast the diet as a failure, that's a no-no. The diet didn't fail you. You failed the diet, because you have there's some ceiling that you're hitting and you just won't get over it, or there's an obstacle in your way and you're not trying to get over it or obliterate it. And I think that's BS. I'm not going to name the channel. I'm sure you may have even seen it already. Maybe you haven't. Seems to be fairly new-ish. But to blast the diet that way, listen, it could be expensive, and I see folks that report on their budgets and the things that they do to get by so they can make sure that they're trying to get to this point to better their health. I'm not going to subscribe to somebody's BS stories that, oh, I just can't afford it. Or listen, I've been there. The beginning of the diet was expensive because you really have to satiate yourself. As the diet progresses for you, if you pay attention and you do the work, you begin to eat less. So you're not buying the same amount of food that you have been. And even if you consume a little bit extra, you're also not bringing all those other foods into the house. Now, if you're trying to maintain a household that has 5 or 6 people in it and so only eats this one only eats that, it could be very difficult. I can get it. But to call it a rich man's diet, you're out of your mind. Okay, so I can't justify somebody saying that. I don't think there's any. I don't think it's a genuine view. I really don't. I think it's just somebody who's just tried this because it was there, just to maybe be part of something, maybe to put some extra views on their channel. It doesn't seem legit to me. And, while there's folks out here, again, who have legitimate issues with trying to get into this and do this for their health and maintain a family where they have multiple people, whether it's children or there's just other adults in the household. It could be expensive, but it's not the rich man's diet because there's too many people that are doing it. They've overcome some of the obstacles. They're getting by with what they need to do to actually feel better. So I can't eat ribeye every day. I have to eat 80-20 ground beef most of the time. Sometimes I got to throw in a little chicken in there. It just seems disingenuous. So I noticed it and I felt I should report on it because I'm sure folks that are, if anybody that's subscribed to me that watches others, they may come across this and may feel the same way. But I'm not going to sit here and when there's so many people in this community that have let us into their lives and have had good things to say, but they've also reported on their downfalls, the pitfalls of the diet, how tough it can be sometimes because of you got to stretch a dollar. You might not, be able to buy those ribeyes or even just, even chuck steak isn't really cheap either. But just to say that the diet, it's a rich man's diet, so nobody can do this, or I'm not going to do this anymore because then you're being dishonest with yourself. You're doing yourself a disservice. You're doing the carnivore community a disservice because the diet itself, the proper human diet, it's not going to fail you. It won't fail you. At least I don't think so. I've bought into this whole thing, and it just makes too much sense, and I'm reaping the rewards of it. Okay, so my pocketbook did take a hit at the beginning. 35 or 40 days is not enough time for you to come out and make such an accusation or such a claim. So that's my little rant about that. In other news, I had to take my mother to a follow-up, or actually her initial visit to this new gastro doctor. So I'm sitting in the waiting room and I'm just chilling out and I'm watching TV. Of course, Bobby Flay, Beat Bobby Flay or something like that is on. So I'm watching people make all this food and I'm just like, I can't wait to get home. I want to make my chuck steak. So I'm salivating while I'm watching this TV show. But, magazines and things on the table. And in most doctors' offices, there's a corner or a wall that has information about your doctor, information about their specialty if you're going to see a specialist, and there's pamphlets and things with information. So in this particular doctor's office was a pamphlet, and I went over there and I was like, ooh, let me take a look at this. So I go and take a look, and it says the importance of fiber in your diet. Tips for choosing food. So I crossed out the doctor's name. But the pamphlet wasn't made by the doctor. The pamphlet is produced by AstraZeneca. So I said, well, this is interesting. Let's see what they have to say. So basically, it's a little menu of high fiber diet foods, with certain Serving sizes, how much dietary fiber is in it, and it's broken down into like fruit, breads and cereals, you know, legumes, nuts, snack food. So I said, let me just read up on this. You know, the fiber myth. You know, we're all seeing the fiber myth and how it's projected to us. You know, you need fiber in your diet, and we're finding out, well, you know, you really don't. You know, you probably shouldn't eat high amounts of fiber because it has some detrimental effects. So, you know, you read the usual, you know, BS, the positives, like, oh, everything about fiber is positive. Kind of like that, you know, claim made by that other channel that, oh, people only report the positives. Well, the same thing can be said of this. They only report the positives. However, I think if you really read this and you get into it, they're reporting more than, you know, more than two things can be true at once. So they tell you fiber is the part of plant food that is not broken down or digested in our bodies. Well, why the hell would you eat if you can't digest it? So, roughage is often another term that is used. It is found in the structural part of the plants, the skin, the roots, the stems, the leaves, and the seeds. So, then let's go into the benefits. You know, a full and satisfied feeling that helps to control our appetite and helps with weight loss. Not true. At least not for the folks. It wasn't for me. When I went vegan, full plant based, I was miserable. I was always hungry. High fiber foods are sometimes lower in calories. Yes, and if you believe that all calories are the same, a calorie of 1 gram of sugar versus a calorie of 1 gram of red meat is the same, then you're blindsided. We've already heard that too. All calories are not created equal. Bowel regularity is improved. Not 100% true. I can get behind this. There may be a benefit to a decrease in blood cholesterol, triglycerides, and blood fats that increase the risk for heart disease. So, yes, if you're susceptible to heart disease, if you have a family history of it, if you've already suffered heart attacks or any kind of thing, blockages or whatever, maybe there's more of a reason to eat a little bit more of a fibrous diet than continue to eat standard American diet. But I don't think that should prevent you from eating animal products. We've already seen that. Dr. Ovidia, I think his name is, heart surgeon. You know what I'm saying. The rationale behind a high fiber diet: to provide a diet which increases the intake of bulk and fiber. A high fiber diet helps to prevent constipation. Wrong. To prevent constipation, it may be beneficial in reducing the risk of colon cancer and lowering blood cholesterol. Well, maybe lowering the blood cholesterol, which is fine, but we're also finding out that a lot of folks, you know, post death and doing autopsies, that most of those folks had normal cholesterol. So we've seen the studies, all the doctors putting all this information out that are saying it is not the gold standard in actually diagnosing or saying, oh, you need a lower cholesterol level to prevent heart attack or heart disease. So we've already seen that been debunked. The diet will meet the nutrition needs as recommended by the Food and Nutrition Board of the National Research Council. So we also know, you know, that's got to be included with the food pyramid, which we know is complete. They've blown that whole theory up. It's just amazing. However, so they tell you all the benefits, right? These are the benefits, and on the back end, this is the back panel. Across the back, it says meat, fish, poultry, fats, and dairy products are not listed as they do not contain dietary fiber, but are an important part of a nutritionally balanced diet. So they're saying those foods are okay in moderation, but you should eat more fiber. You should eat more fibrous foods because, you know, you don't want to be constipated. And listen, if you want to know some information about number 2, I've seen a couple of videos that I forgot her first name. Geez, I hate when I can't do the recall. But Steak and Butter Gal has done a few videos regarding waste and the myth that's behind all of all of this is they lead us to believe that you should go at least once a day, take a healthy one, and basically dump a 2 pound torpedo in the bowl. Well, now as a 148-day carnivore, yeah, I went through the growing pains, the beginning pains of the diet, and having some very loose movements, and you find out that that subsides a little bit, and then once you get into what is really considered regular, as your plan starts to level out, sometimes it's every day, sometimes it's every other day, sometimes it's 3 days. You're not bloated, you're not crampy, you're not constipated. I suffered with, during my bouts of anxiety, I suffered with IBS with diarrhea. So IBS plus D. Other folks suffer with IBS plus C, which is constipation. And mine was contributing or being contributed to because of the anxiety. So once that stopped, and I was back to the normal routine. But listen, you sit in a standard American diet with all the foods that we ate, and then in trying to incorporate, well, you know what, maybe I should eat some extra broccoli and things because it's good, it's fiber, it helps you go. I don't want to go to the bathroom. I don't want to go take number two more than once a day anymore. Eating that way, I remember sometimes 3 times a day. And sometimes, I don't want to say struggling, but sitting long enough to know that maybe, your foot is getting pins and needles in it because you just, your body's saying you got to go, but you can't because you're really constipated. And you're sitting there going, but I ate my fiber. And then you'll try some product. You'll try Metamucil or some other whatever to go. And that just makes it worse. And I think a lot of us have been around the block, especially if you're getting up there in age and you're approaching, your 50s or you're in your 50s like me. You just start wondering, well, something's just something, 1 and 1 ain't equaling two here. That's my famous line. 1 plus 1 is just not going to equal two. So, stumbling on the keto thing actually opened my eyeballs a little bit to fiber and things like that. And then now, really investigating carnivore and being full blown carnivore, I can't imagine why somebody would want to still continue to believe that I have to make a movement, the number two movement, and it's got to come out looking like a small torpedo roll. If I don't have one of those every day, then something's wrong. I no longer subscribe to that. I subscribe to the fact that if I do go every day and I'm putting out a torpedo, something's wrong. And then that means to me, and I'm sure if I started eating some of those processed foods and adding a little more, even the vegetables that I love to eat, putting them back in my diet. Again, I don't want to go. I'm now so used to it's once every other day. Most of the times it's like a 2 day thing for me. I'm saving money on toilet paper. And I'm adding that money, those savings, into putting it into my diet and filling my freezer. So, it sounds a little comical and it sounds kind of silly, but when you take all these things into account and you really pay attention to what's going on, you're a little patient. And, listen, again, I can't make that choice right now on whether or not vegetables are going to ever be reintroduced into my diet, and even in a small amount. I'm not sure. I'm surviving without them. I think I might miss broccoli the most. And I really think I miss it more now because I know I can have butter. That was the way I used to eat it. I would just blanch it so it was still a little crunchy, and I would put butter on it, and that was the way I ate it for the most part. And now knowing that, well, butter is no longer the enemy, so I could sit back and enjoy a nice little bowl full of blanched broccoli with some salt, pepper, and butter on it. But is it going to cause me any issues? I know corn does. I'll never eat corn again. Pains of hell, literally. And it was never always like that. I used to eat corn all the time, and then as I got into my late 30s and 40s, I noticed I get bloating, cramping. It was a little painful. And I think the last time I ate corn was a few years ago. And this was before keto carnivore even. We were either at a barbecue or I had a barbecue here, and we put it on the grill. And I couldn't wait. Slathered it up with butter, salt, and pepper. I ate like 3 ears of corn, and the next day, it felt like somebody was stabbing me in my hip. That's how it needed to get out of me, not to be gross. So there's definitely some downsides to certain vegetables, and one of them for me is corn. Now, will broccoli do the same thing to me? I don't know. Do I want to test it? I don't know either. And is it really necessary? I think we're seeing folks thrive without having any fiber in their diet. Um, so I don't know, but this is what's in a lot of doctors' offices, and this is going to continue, and it's pushed out there by big pharma. There's your maker. Okay, they made the pamphlet. They put all this together and probably said to the doctor, "Hey, we'll make how many of these you want to put in your waiting room. We'll just stamp your name on it, or you can rubber stamp it with your name on it, and we'll just give you 1,000 of these or 2,000, whatever. Just give them to your patients after their consult. Say, on your way out, stop and take that pamphlet that says the importance of fiber in your diet. It has a whole list of foods, what you should eat, and you can pick what you like and still be sick. Let's just put it out there." I don't know. So that's all the news that's fit to print regarding carnivore. I am getting ready to ramp up some of the garage videos, getting better weather here, putting some of these projects together. Got some reviews. Got a couple of restorations on some toolboxes that I'm going to be doing once I can clear the garage out and get out there and make sure I get my paint sprayer and everything set up. So that stuff's going to be coming down the line too. I've actually ported a video over to Rumble. I'm not sure if I'm going to make a full leap to Rumble or not, but kind of like I'm seeing reviews and things from folks. I actually know somebody who's got a platform on there, and they seem to like the aspects of what it offers. Um, I don't know. I'm going to see. Maybe I keep both platforms running, for a while and see. But Joe's Garage and other stuff on Rumble. If you want to go over there's only one video. I actually ported over one of the videos that I already had posted here, just to see what kind of traction it gets. I may post a couple more there to see. So if you're on Rumble, go check me out there. I'm going to be there as well. So I hope everybody is doing well. Thank you for the continued support, likes, shares, the subscribership, and leaving me comments. And I will talk to you in the next video.